The following play is Ohama Goten Tsunatoyo Kyo, Lord Tsunatoyo at his Ohama estate. Often performed on its own, this is the most popular play within the Genroku Chushingura cycle, although none of the main characters involved with the vendetta will appear. It is now 1 year since the attack in Edo Castle that led to Lord Asano's seppuku. Rumors abound about his now masterless retainers, but since no action has been taken to avenge his death, the world wonders whether any such vendetta is actually going to take place. Kuranosuke's petition to have the Ako house restored is still pending, and one who has a great influence on that decision is nephew and probable heir to the shogun, Lord Tsunatoyo. The play is set in the grounds of Lord Tsunatoyo's large private mansion close to the shore. It is the 3rd month, and the day of the Ohama Asobi, an annual festival in which all serving ladies and attendants from the Lord's main residence come to enjoy a day off with games and colorful shows. Lively festival music suggests that the games have been in full swing for some time. She will help out. How vexing. A young lady of the house hurries this way. She is Okio, in service to Lord Tsunatoyo and very much favored by him. Okio is played by Nakamura Shibajaku. She is pursued by an older lady-in-waiting named Urao and her attendant. Urao is intent on discovering the contents of a letter that Okio carries. For such serving ladies, affairs of the heart were forbidden. Dressed in black, Urao is played by Ichimura Manjiro. It is most suspicious that Okio is refusing to show the letter. She must be hiding something. But it is not that kind of letter at all. And who was that man she was seen chatting to just now? By appearances, he was a Ronin. It was nothing suspicious. That man was her elder brother, Tominomori Skeemon. Then she'd better hand over the letter at once. If not, they'll have no choice but to tear off her outer robe and get it themselves. Nomura, the letter. Now, Okio is to hand the letter to her. Just then, there is a timely intervention by another high-ranking lady. It is the Lord's personal secretary, Ejima, who now calls Urao away on other duties. On a festive day such as this, there is no call for any mean-spirited interrogation. Urao is to leave while she herself will take over the questioning. Ejima is played by Kataoka Hidetaro. Their lord bids her go. Okiyo is grateful for the intervention. It was the letter that caused all this fuss. Okiyo had best show it to her now. Okiyo needn't worry. It is Ejima she is speaking to, and nothing bad will come of it. It is a letter from her former place of employment, from the senior lady-in-waiting. This is important news. It's no wonder she wanted to conceal it. The lady who is ill, would that be Lord Asano's wife? Indeed, she cannot hide it. Okiyo formerly served at Lord Asano's mansion and was still engaged there when, sadly, he committed seppuku and his estates forfeited. After those events, her mistress, Lord Asano's wife, was so distraught and suffered such hardships that, since last autumn, she has become seriously ill. There is now a petition to reinstate the Asano house. Since Okiyo is a special favorite of Lord Tsunatoyo's, perhaps she intends to persuade him to support that appeal. If the Asano house were reinstated, then perhaps her former lady's condition might improve. So happy would she be at the news. As is well known, Lord Tsunatoyo is the only nephew of His Excellency the Shogun. The Shogun is old, and people everywhere are talking about whom his heir might be. Lord Tsunatoyo is one of two likely candidates. Hearing of such rumors, Lord Tsunatoyo feels most uneasy and currently avoids any talk of political matters. Instead, he devotes himself either to study or to enjoying himself with more temporal pursuits. That at least is how it appears. Okio should rejoice, for there is bound to be a happy outcome for the Asano house. She'd best speak quietly lest anyone else hear, but Lord Tsunatoyo's wife is also urging him strongly to support the petition for the Asano house reinstatement, so he will surely lend his own support. But why, she wonders, would their lady urge such a thing? Fortunately, the messenger who brought the letter is still here. Okio should tell him to inform Asano's wife of the good news. Okio is eternally grateful. She will not forget. But the messenger who brought the letter, as he has come all this way, he has requested to watch the women's Ohama Asobi festivities through a gap in the hedge. He has asked her to mediate for him. That is an easy request to grant. The seaside celebrations have gained quite a reputation of late, and though men are officially forbidden, in fact, groups of people are permitted to watch from a distance. The mock procession is beginning. He is making a pilgrimage to Ise Shrine. Won't she give a coin or two? Oh my, how well he's turned out. But isn't he the son of one of their ladies? He's from far away. Won't she give him a coin? Very well. She will contribute a few coins. Ejima suggests that she and Okio go watch the parade from the dressing rooms. From the distance, they hear the song of a pack horse driver. The parade is to feature a grand procession along the highway. At last, Lord Tsunatoyo himself has appeared, a little the worse for drink. This important role is played by Kataoka Nizaemon. He may seem drunk, but he isn't really. She is to tell his wife he understands about the Asano affair. Then she's to go to the front gatehouse and await the arrival of Hakuseki. Why, he refers to Arai Kageyu, his own teacher and the country's foremost scholar. They're on a pilgrimage to Ise. Won't he make a contribution? If it's some change thereafter, he has never carried coins in his life. Perhaps someone else could pay for him. Penniless, is he? A fine pilgrim he makes. He's no answer for that. Enough of that bowing and scraping. He'll fall. He's quite all right. He was accompanying his wife just now and was so bored the sake went straight to his head. His wife is apt to be a difficult woman. But Okio there is always as cheerful as a young town maiden. Come closer, closer. Even in the privy, a daimyo is bound by rules these days. Can't even stretch his legs and yawn without restrictions. It's hardly the sort of life he'd wish to pass on to his grandchildren. Life is apt to be short in this floating world. He, like all the rest, must slip and slide with the times, or else life won't be worth living. And so, a buoyant mood for this floating world. Okio, another drink. With respect, he seems already to have had quite a bit. At this rate, he won't be able to greet his guests. Guests? Ah, she means Uesugi. What kind of guest is he? Sycophants, the lot of them. Okio, remember what they spoke about. About Okio's brother. He came to her as a messenger and asks permission to stay to watch the celebrations. Okio's brother. Surely he was a retainer of the late Asano. Indeed, but he now lives an impoverished life in Kojimachi. His name is Tominomori Sukeemon. So the Asano Ronin, Tominomori Sukeemon, would like to view the celebrations, would he? And is this Sukeemon aware that Lord Kira will be taking part in tonight's No performance? Then Lord Kira will be one of the invited guests this evening. Public opinion can be a frightening thing. Since the 3rd month of last year, throughout the city, people have been talking about poor Lord Asano and that hateful Kira. It's even the topic of popular songs. The shogun has always been rather fickle. Now he thinks badly of Kira, and this has upset the old badger. By asking to come and watch today's celebrations, Kira is relying on Tsunatoyo's help in deflecting adverse opinion. The sly old badger hasn't changed. Asano was no match for him. Then perhaps her brother had an ulterior motive. So, Scaemon wants to watch from a gap in the hedge, does he? Very well. He permits it. Though Asano's seppuku resulted in only one man's death, still he leaves behind over 300 of his former household. Without their stipends, they now eke out a sad and shameful existence. Surely, Asano's former retainers would like to see the face of the man responsible for their lord's death. Wanting to discover what he looks like is proof that they have not yet lost their samurai spirit. Well, he can look as much as he pleases. He can gaze at Lord Kira's face, or rather, at the day's festivities. Okio should inform him. But make sure he knows he's to stay behind the hedge. He is not to approach the mansion. Any surprise attack on Kira now would be shameful for a samurai. Tell him all that he has said. Thank you. Thank you. The next scene takes place inside Lord Tsunatoyo's private study within the mansion, where the famous scholar Arai Hakuseki, here called Kageyu, sits waiting. Kageyu is played by Nakamura Tomijuro. Kageyu is no demon. Why this hesitation? But they wish to watch the procession. Then they are excused, but they're to prepare the sake for later. He apologizes for keeping him waiting. Out of respect for his learned teacher, Tsunatoyo will not sit on his cushion until Kageyu invites him to do so. Addressing him as sensei, teacher, Tsunatoyo explains that he has asked him to come because, once again, he has received a request from the imperial household in Kyoto and wonders what to do. In the third month of last year, the chief councillor Yanagihara and councillor Takano were entertained in Edo as imperial messengers. Since their return to Kyoto, however, they have not visited the imperial court. It's almost as though they were under house arrest. According to gossip, this is because they were defiled, having witnessed bloodshed in Edo Castle. But the reason cannot really be so simple. At that time, the instigator of the argument, Lord Kira, escaped with no more than a scratch, and his life was spared, unlike Lord Asano. If only the two imperial messengers had pleaded for Asano's life, he would not have had to commit seppuku. That it didn't occur to the two messengers to do this was thoughtless of them in the extreme. Or so he hears. If Tsunatoyo were now to plead for the Asano house's restoration, does Kageyu believe that the shogun is likely to approve it? What does he think? In the shogun's eyes, Tsunatoyo has given himself up to pleasure and dissipation, and the affairs of government are of no concern to him. This makes the shogun uneasy. But if Tsunatoyo were to present this petition, it would be a timely act. The shogun would think it good news and would be delighted. That is just as he thought himself. But therein lies his problem, and the reason he has summoned Kageyu here today. If the shogun were to grant the reinstatement of the Asano house, no matter how impatiently many have been waiting for it, any thought of revenge would then be out of the question. Though it may be in his power to aid the succession of Asano's younger brother as head of the house, nevertheless, Tsunatoyo secretly feels inclined to refuse.
なんとのそれを拒む者が身の心中に潜んでいるような気がするのだ。まず
Kageyu urges his pupil to speak his heart. For these past 5 years, he has lectured him in Japanese history, and Tsunatoyo has already as good as said what he should do. Kageyu can guess that his pupil is already resolved on the matter. He should say it out loud now. Though it is hardly his place to say such disrespectful things, there are times when one must go beyond the teachings of the sages.
政権の教えも時には踏み越えねばならぬ時があると思う。
That is well spoken. They themselves do not hail from China, and before listening to the wisdom of foreigners, they must never forget their Japanese warriors' hearts. The warrior's heart comes first. Only after that should they follow the teachings of sages. Then, in truth, he admits he does not want to submit this petition for the Asano House's reinstatement. Though it means rejecting his wife and her family's earnest pleas and going against the wishes of the imperial house, Tsunatoyo would rather give Oishi Kuranosuke a little more time.
少しく自節をなってみたいと思う。
He understands the pity the imperial house feels for Asano. But if Oishi and the Ako Ronin were to accomplish the plan for which they have suffered such hardship, if they were to wipe away the resentment of their lord's final hour, then that would please the imperial house far more than seeing Asano's heir receive a measly stipend of 20 or 30,000 bushels. What does Kageyu think? Excellent. Tsunatoyo has spoken magnificently, and Kageyu is so impressed he can do no more than weep. He wants the vendetta to take place. Though it has no connection to him directly, he would like to see righteousness upheld. He would like the Ronin to achieve their cherished ambition. Yet he is still worried by one thing. Now in Kyoto, Oishi has given himself up to debauchery and spends every day and every night in the city's pleasure quarters of Fushimi and Shimabara. Oishi is over 40 and already past middle age. He has shown himself a wise man on several occasions, and yet, suddenly, last year, he became dissolute. But Tsunatoyo knows that for one who makes play his work, the allure of the fairer sex is really not so interesting. Kageyu understands his meaning. Now being led into the mansion is Okio's elder brother, Tominomori Sukeemon. He is surprised that someone should have summoned him here, but he does not know who that someone is. The role of Sukeemon is taken by Ichikawa Somegoro. Their Lord Secretary just said to bring him here. But he is not dressed for any meeting with a member of the household and begs to be allowed to go. What time is Lord Kira expected? He means Uesugi, the Lord of Yonezawa. Surely he is expected quite soon. He must be here shortly. Their lord has instructed them to prepare an evening meal, but nothing for the afternoon. So it seems the guests are due to arrive after nightfall. And will he arrive via the front gate? Come, come. They are waiting for him within. Sukeemon hails from a distant province and has never seen a lord at leisure in his mansion. He begs that today he be allowed to view the lord's procession. Even a daimyo has 2 eyes and a nose, like the rest of them. There's nothing so special to report back home. Better get a move on. He doesn't know who's called him here, but perhaps the servant would act as intermediary. What's he saying? It isn't a mere servant's place to venture further inside. So, he's been summoned by someone of high rank. But Sukeemon is apt to be absent-minded. If he's in front of a person of rank, he's liable to forget things. On top of that, he has a terrible stammer, as he can tell. If the guests are to arrive by the front gate, then if he waits by the western lodge, he will get a distant view of Kira's, he means Lord Uesugi's, face. But before that, he has been summoned. No, it was not she who summoned him. Come this way. His sister awaits. His sister? She must mean Okio. Then is she one of her fellow serving ladies? She is named Ejima, and she is their lord's private secretary. Then it was she who instructed the servants to give him sake. And now he's drunk, completely drunk. Now do come along. They are keeping their lord waiting. Their lord? He's to have an audience with their lord? There's been some mistake. He is a rough-mannered fellow, an absent-minded fellow. Please, he begs to be excused. My, but what a fuss. Alone with Lord Tsunatoyo, Okio has had a chance to speak of her former mistress and of the letter she received earlier. Since autumn of last year, she explains, Lord Asano's wife has been gravely ill. Why, he's on the ground again. He was so overwhelmed that his legs gave out from under him. He'll place his sword just here. Can't shut him up, though. Here at last, is he? He's not to stand on ceremony. Approach closer. So he is Tominomori Skeemon, formerly of Lord Asano's household. What was his position? A position of no consequence. His stipend was only tiny. 200 bushels, was it not? His position was official messenger to various domains. That's of some consequence, surely. Is he drunk? He drank a little in the kitchens. Yet for all that, his eyes seem clear. Approach. That is too far away. Why will he not come? There would be sake for him. But Skeemon declines. He admits he is a difficult person. Served sake by his younger sister, no matter how much he drinks, it will not taste good. How outspoken. He seems an interesting fellow. But Tsunatoyo is a touch eccentric himself. When a person refuses him, he wants them to accept all the more. That is easy for him. As a great lord close to the seat of government, if Tsunatoyo persists in asking him to drink, a low and poverty-stricken retainer such as he cannot help but oblige. It is no fun to compel him. If Sukeemon does not want to drink, then so be it. He may speak at his leisure. If that's all, he'll take his leave. Stay and speak. There is still plenty of time before the one he wishes to see arrives. Give him tobacco. May he take some from here? Sukeemon brings out his own tobacco pouch in a very forward manner, but it's offered him. He cannot want to remain a Ronin forever. Surely he would like to find service somewhere else. He is, after all, an ill-mannered fellow, and has given up all hope of that. How about serving this house? It would not be much, but Tsunatoyo could pay the same amount as he was receiving before. But look to his side. So, he objects to a woman's influence in finding employment. Sukeemon is only her brother on paper. When she sought employment at this mansion, she was ashamed at her orphaned status, and so he lent her his family name. But now that she is successfully employed, Sukeemon wants her to apply for another family and have his own connection with her erased from the deed. He would have his own name expunged. Perhaps he thinks having him as her brother will be troublesome for her in the future. If that is how he wishes to see it. Whatever the case, he despises the thought of serving any other lord. Due to his former lord's quick temper, a great many of his retainers have lost everything and are now cut adrift. Loyalty like that sickens him. Then he will never serve another lord. He is good at raising birds. Sukeemon will try breeding nightingales to sell to daimyo, and for the present, that will be his profession. That would indeed be a shame, and a little lacking in wisdom. And would it not be bothersome for Kuranosuke in Yamashina? He hears that Oishi is a magnanimous man, yet Sukeemon evidently does not understand what he is really thinking. Oishi's capabilities are such that even members of the high-ranking Konoe family have their eye on him in Kyoto. But with reckless men around him, he will not find it easy to accomplish his purpose. The saying that children never appreciate their parents' concern applies here. From where Tsunatoyo sits, he may feel sorry for Oishi, but he has a serious fault. If only there were a way to inform him of it, and yet it would do little good. Pitiable as he is, he has served in a small domain and cannot understand the workings of the world at large. It is a shame that his understanding of moral obligation is insufficient. The world may look upon Oishi as a great man, but in Tsunatoyo's eyes, he is only a country-born, provincial samurai. Now, it's as though his hand is stuck between two immovable rocks. He cannot pull out, nor push himself free. Does Scaemon still refuse a drink? He doesn't want a drink. And Oishi is Oishi. Scaemon is Scaemon. That may be, but with him as leader, the Ronin must loaf about following his orders. How pitiful that they are kept in the dark. Tsunatoyo cannot help but feel sorry for them. If he were to compare it to something, it's like a dunce who gets up in the middle of the night with sleepy eyes and decides to catch a rat with a wooden rice measure. But while the rat is nimble, the dunce is slow. Stealthily, he creeps up on the rat, and, taking aim, he holds the measure aloft. He cuts a ridiculous figure as he stands there bent over, with his arms stretched above and his buttocks sticking out. With a sudden shout, he brings the measure down, and is happy to think that the rat is trapped at last. But lifting up one end and peeking underneath, he looks inside the box. Empty. Of course it is empty. That evil rat Kira has already escaped 100 leagues. He's escaped all the way to Yonezawa, where he's transformed into the master of that castle, Uesugi Tsunanori, with his 150 bushels of rice.
米沢の城主上杉綱則15万石のご隠居様に化けて不思議案検診以来足台来った米沢侍に守られて
Protected by skillfully trained retainers, he leads a carefree life in retirement. What do the impoverished Ronin think of that? Now that they have lost their 53,000 bushels. The group planning revenge perhaps numbers 50 or 70 men, and yet, glaring at Yonezawa Castle with clenched teeth, they've already missed their chance. The time is too late. It is already broad daylight, and the morning crows are cawing loudly at their foolishness. This mansion is Tsunatoyo's property. Here he may say whatever he chooses. All those who are by his side are at his constant beck and call. His retainers, his ladies in waiting. No matter what foolishness he cares to speak, they will all listen agreeably to his every word. So when Scaemon returns to his home, he can also say what he wants. Though he may have no more than 19 mats to call his own, when he's home he is the master of the house. He is Governor General of his castle. Dragging his wife, child and servant before him, with a sake cup in one hand, he can speak to his heart's content. They'll all bow their heads and answer yes, yes, to whatever he says. And no doubt at that time he can criticize Tsunatoyo too, to his heart's content. Among the common people, even the shogun himself is subject to malicious gossip. So he'd feel no hesitation to speak ill of Tsunatoyo with his 350 bushels. He'd like to speak his fill for the Lord's future edification. But her brother has said too much. Let him speak. Tsunatoyo is enjoying it. But won't Scaemon come closer now? No. He will keep his distance. If, tricked by Tsunatoyo's clever abuse, he were to end up crawling around at Tsunatoyo's will, all the training from his months of hard poverty would be to no avail. What an obstinate man. If Scaemon and the others do indeed plan a vendetta, it would be a mistake to think that the plan is theirs alone. Just as people look to a weathercock to see which way the wind blows, they are all looking towards Asano's retainers to gauge how Bushido, the warrior's spirit, is doing. It is already the 15th year of the Genroku era, 1702, and people are accustomed to peace. At such a time, the samurai spirit has degenerated, and those who still hold firm are all watching closely the actions of Asano's men. If they do have a plan, Tsunatoyo has no wish to obstruct them. To do so would inflict harm on himself as a samurai. Since ages past, it has been said that mutual assistance is part of the warrior's code. But this does not simply refer to one wealthy samurai giving gold to a poor one. What it means is for samurai to give moral support to each other. Does he understand? If Scaemon and his group accomplish their revenge, they will be doing it for countless samurai throughout the land. A man of leisure can speak of many things at his leisure. Kuranosuke's current dissipation, what is the meaning of that? Better ask him. And at the end of last year, Kuranosuke is supposed to have come to Edo in secret. What was the purpose? For what reason did he gather his former compatriots together? In the 12th month of last year, why did Oishi Kuranosuke come to Edo? Ah yes, he did come to Edo in the 12th month. Up till then, there had still been talk amongst some of them to attack Kira. But that is long past now. Oishi has forgotten any such plan. If he hadn't, Scaemon and the rest would hardly be bemoaning their lot as they do. But what do they intend to do? After bearing their souls to Kuranosuke, now that he's had a change of heart, will they just abandon all thoughts of loyalty?
にを捨てるのか。
One of Tsunatoyo's breeding may never have set eyes on it, but among the objects in a kitchen there is such a thing as a bucket. A bucket is held together by metal hoops. But if one of those hoops is cut, then all the wooden pieces fall apart. However much one tries to draw water with a single plank of wood, it's an impossible task. But Tsunatoyo cannot agree. He is not asking these questions merely for his own amusement. He himself is in a dilemma and wants to sound out what their intentions really are. Scaemon may be resolved not to talk about the plan, but Tsunatoyo only wishes to know if there is one or not. He is not asking Scaemon to divulge any secret details. He wants to know for his own sake. Doesn't Scaemon understand that? Look at him. Look at his eyes. He wants desperately to believe that through them, the warrior spirit is still alive in Japan. Is Tsunatoyo saying that, because Oishi has now given himself up to pleasure, there must in fact be a plan for revenge? If so, he has something he'd like to say of his own. Then he will ask one thing. Is it true that Tsunatoyo himself is concealing his ambitions to become the sixth shogun by tricking the world and acting as a pleasure-seeking fool? Brother, prepare to die. Over and again, his words are insolent. He wants to hear the rest. Scaemon must go on. Go on, speak. It's not like him to hold back. He speaks out of turn, but it seems that the present shogun is deeply suspicious of those who may be seen as a threat. Talent is envied, wisdom suspected. Over the past 2 decades, more than 20 feudal lords have been annihilated, and not one of them was crushed because of their personal debauchery or dissipation. On the contrary, every one of them who received censure was held in high regard by the world. Understanding that full well, Tsunatoyo has purposely taken on the guise of a man fond of his sake, an indolent pleasure seeker, and all this a mere expedient to allay the shogun's suspicions.
将軍家恩疑いを避けるためのご方便と見るより他はないと申し上げましたなら
It may pain him to hear such words from the likes of Skeemon. He must feel sorely grieved.
ご心中大事の傷書この助も目に触られたとご心外には
The exact same thing might be said of Kuranosuke's dissipation, but whether he is naturally inclined towards such dissolution, or whether it is a ploy to fool the enemy, Skeemon cannot tell. However much the Lord presses him now, he would find it hard to answer. Indeed, he cannot answer. That the world should view Tsunatoyo's own high living in that light is useful to know. He will ask nothing more. A man who is concealing an important plan is not the man to answer questions about it. And yet, he still has a dilemma. The imperial house in Kyoto is making a request. The Konoe family would like to employ Kuranosuke and are urging Tsunatoyo to support the petition for the Asano house's reinstatement by presenting it directly to the shogun. If the imperial house gets its wish, and the Asano house is happily restored, no matter how consumed the retainers are by the desire, revenge on Kira will no longer be possible. Oishi and other officials have put forward the petition to recognize Asano's younger brother as heir to the Asano house. But in the eyes of the law, once the petition is submitted, any attempt to avenge Lord Asano by such provincial samurai would be illegal.
いかに田舎者のそちらとて天下公論の上よりもこれ
It would be quite impossible.
ならぬことだぞ。
Have the guests all arrived? Only Lord Kira has yet to appear. Have them wait in the study. Then, as the imperial house has requested, will Lord Tsunatoyo support the petition to reinstate the Asano house? Fortunately, tomorrow there are memorial ceremonies at the castle, and he can indeed petition the shogun directly. What's the matter? Privately, the shogun feels great remorse at Lord Asano's death last year. While the 53,000 bushels he received would be too much, an allowance of 30 or 40,000 bushels would surely be approved for his younger brother. Uesugi seems to have come. Scaemon himself needn't worry. He may not get the 200 bushels he used to receive, but there'll be no need for him to breed nightingales for a living. Uesugi must be waiting. About the petition for the Asano house. He won't forget. All Scaemon's abuse has had its effect. The women have announced Lord Kira's arrival. Sukeemon begs his sister to inform Kuranosuke of this day's events. There is no escaping what he must do now. Is he mad? He is forbidden to approach any nearer. He was told to view events only from a distance. Out of his way. Tomorrow, Tsunetoyo will submit the petition for the Asano house's reinstatement. If he does not kill Kira now, as soon as he sets eyes on him, there will be no chance later, and Lord Asano will never be avenged. Nothing else matters now. If he fails to accomplish their aim, then their arch-enemy Kira will die an easy and natural death. She won't allow it. Can he think of no other way? To shed blood in this mansion is inexcusable. He must see sense. He must use wisdom. What sense can there be now? She herself is much indebted to the Asano house. She must not stop him. Ladies are heard bantering with Lord Kira. Okio's life must also be sacrificed. She must die for the Asano house. She has an idea. She does indeed owe much to the Asano house and will not stop him in his revenge, but she will show him how to get to Kira. Tonight, a performance of No is scheduled for the guests' entertainment, and Kira is due to take the main role in the play Mochizuki. If Sukeemon attacks him then, it will not cause such an uproar in the mansion, and no other guest will be injured. Won't he wait until then? That is admirable. Then she will lead the way. She will. And as for the consequences, she is resolved. The final scene takes place later that night. We are behind the private No stage built in the mansion's garden, and the performances are now underway. The play is Mochizuki, and Lord Kira himself is about to make his way to the stage. Insolence! Trying to kill Kira, was he? Will he ruin everything for Kuranosuke and the other men? The long months of hardship they have all endured, the plans for revenge, did he think it was all just to take Kira's life? A man's honor stands or falls upon the moment of conception, upon his first impulse to act. Honor is in his decision to take action or not. Most assuredly, it is not found in the mere accomplishment of the deed. Does Sukeemon believe that just by presenting Kira's head before Asano's grave at Sengakuji, his former lord's resentment would be wiped away? He said earlier that he felt Kuranosuke had made one error, and that has become apparent now. Regardless of the circumstances, for him to submit the petition for the Asano house's reinstatement in one hand, while with the other seeking to kill Kira, is not only against the law, it trifles with the very nature of righteousness and is a sin against justice itself. They may think that today Kuranosuke pretends to amuse himself in the Shimabara and Fushimi pleasure quarters as a ruse to throw Kira off his guard. But not in his eyes. Now there is a petition to reinstate Daigaku as heir to the Asano house. Though he may writhe in pain at his mistake, Kuranosuke is like one who has shot an arrow at the foe, only to stare dejectedly after it, wondering where it has gone. The loneliness Kuranosuke must feel, his sad isolation. It is not something the untutored likes of Sukeemon could understand. Even if it meant Kira did live out his natural span of life and die peacefully in his bed, what meaning would there be for the group of Ronin, having so far exercised judgment and followed reason, to cut off that filthy grey-haired head? What good would it do to offer that to their lord? Even before approaching Kira, an honorable man's revenge would first be to perform his duty in all sincerity. Only then could he call his act of revenge truly honorable. Does he understand? So that's where their lords got to. The musicians are all on stage waiting. He will be there shortly. Tell them to begin. Do not be concerned. This is only a man who drank too much and wandered into the grounds by mistake. Ejima is to help carry the man to the front gate and escort him away from here.
返してやれ。
かしこまりました。
And there's his cue. This translation for Ohamagoten Tsunatoyo Kyo was written and narrated by Paul Griffith.